What's going on, guys? Stock Picks by Tim here, and sorry my camera's dead right now, but I wanted to get this video out before I had to go to work, so you're not going to see me on the screen here. But I wanted to get into a couple of stocks that I've been watching, a couple of new ones that I haven't mentioned. One of them is going to be JPM. Now looking at this, we are on a nice little uptrend, sitting right under 140, and I think anytime this is 140 is a great time to average in. Although we may pull back a little bit. I think we can come down towards this lower trend line, test it, and then bounce. So keep an eye on it. Look for maybe 138 potentially. But I do think this is a great time to get in. We were just sitting right at about 160. And I think this is a great stock to own at its current price. And if you're worried about the future environment, the raising rates, I think there's a great financial stock to get into. But let me know in the comments below what your favorite financial is. Are you in Wells Fargo? Are you in JP Morgan? Let me know in the comments below. Now the price to sales is somewhat high, but it's in the lowest range it's been trading at besides 2020, which is an anomaly, I'd say. And then looking at the forward PE, we're sitting right under 13 PE. I think that's great. And they have a pretty strong balance sheet with total cash of $1.4 trillion, total debt of only $623 billion. That looks very manageable there. Now, one thing that does raise a red flag is the revenue has been dropping. You'll see 36, going into 32, going into 31, sitting at 30. So keep an eye on their financials here. Keep an eye on their earnings. Their next earnings is scheduled April 13. I don't believe this is confirmed or not, but keep an eye around that time for their earnings. But we do want to see them beat this 30 billion in revenue, roughly 31 billion. We need to see them beat that. I want to see an increase in revenue. I want to see that turn around. But definitely a stock to keep an eye on. All right, now next up is going to be Disney, or DIS. Now this one I think is a great time to average in. Although personally I don't have a position in this, and I will be waiting for this to come down lower, potentially down to like 135 or lower. I want to see this retest this lower level. Definitely possible we can, although we are in a little bit of an uptrend as of late. So it kind of depends on where the market goes, but if we do retest lower levels, I will definitely be adding to Disney. Now, as you may know, I did get in, get out, kind of swing traded this one a few times. I don't currently have a position, but I am looking to get back in. And I am very lucky with this one that I didn't just hold through and wait, so I got very lucky on this. But yeah, I mean, I've swing traded this one, I want to say 2 times in the last, 2-3 months. To me, it's looking very worthy of a swing trade. But I would prefer to see this come down just a little bit lower. But as for a long-term hold, I think it's at a great time to buy in. And also Valens Semiconductor. This is another great one to get into, a semiconductor play. And they did just report their earnings. I'll leave you guys a link below for that. But I'm definitely liking this one. We're sitting at a little over a $500 million market cap. And the opposite of JP Morgan or JPM, we've got that revenue increasing. So that's a good sign for a growth company like Valens. For those of you that stuck around for a while, you know that I talked about this when it first came out. We're at around the same level, maybe around 6. And I sold it at $9 to $10. It went to a high of 11. And then it's just been downtrending ever since. I think this is a great time to get in while it's under 6. And I will be continuing to add. All right, now next up, I wanted to talk about just Bitcoin, and then I'm going to get into a couple of crypto miners and my thoughts there. Now, first off, we've got Bitcoin looking pretty bullish. We've been on a nice little uptrend. We are starting to cool down. We were unable to break this like 41.6. We tried, couldn't quite do it. But zooming in a bit, you'll see that, we do have this resistance right around here. We want to see it break, like that 41.4, 41.3. We want to see it break this level and hold. But it is very good to see that we are trying to hold over 40. So that's great news. And like in my previous videos, I said, we need to... 40 needs to stop becoming our resistance. I mean, we were able to break it here, but in reality, 40 was our resistance. We weren't just unable to break it. We tried, and then we're quick to fail. We try, quick to fail. Try to reach it, just can't hold it. So now I think things have flipped. Things have flipped. So keep an eye on Bitcoin. Make sure it holds that 40,000. I think that's great to see it working on holding it. In the short term, we can definitely come down, conveniently on this trend line. If we do come down from where we're at, you're still sitting over 40, so keep an eye on this trend line. Make sure that it continues. If we do break this, we may fall further. So we may come down, not hit it, fall further, bam. But, as long as we can hold 40, we are going to be up above this trend line. So that's great. Keep an eye on it. Now, I wanted to show you guys Bitcoin real quick, just to give you an idea of, when you're looking at crypto stocks, crypto miners, you want to look at see what kind of Bitcoin's been doing lately, and that gives you an idea of why Bitcoin miners have been moving. Looking at Sphere 3D, we are still waiting on the merger. No news yet. I mean, people are starting to get impatient with this one. But I'm more than happy to start averaging in again. This has been on a huge downtrend. It tried, we had like a false turnaround, broke down, farther and farther lows, and this has been downtrending hard. However, When you zoom out a little bit, we did break this support, but we were quick to recover and hold. So keep an eye on this. Make sure we can hold this support, this 170. We might retest it. We're definitely likely to retest it again. Keep an eye on this trend line too. If we do break this, we can definitely retest that, that low. But you will notice that this is a pretty long-standing support. I mean, we did break it very shortly, but we were quick to recover. We held it there, held it there, held it here, and we are working on here. But keep an eye on Sphere 3D's earnings. We are obviously going to get details about that merger if it's being delayed further and what have you. So keep an eye on the 1st of April coming up very soon. And make sure we hold over at least the 21 EMA. We are trying to ride that trend. Just keep an eye on it. We are coming up to earnings. There might be a little uncertainty there. As we get closer to earnings and don't hear about a merger, there's likely to be a little bit of a sell-off. I can definitely expect it. A little more of a sell-off, honestly. Although this is extremely, extremely beaten down. This is trading at a level that it was only trading at before any news of a merger even existed. So that's kind of crazy to think, we're still expecting that merger at some point. I think there's just a lot of fear in it. It keeps getting delayed. So, people are uncertain if it's even going to happen. And I think that's one reason this has been trading even lower than before the merger was announced, which to me is kind of insane. But make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll give you guys updated news on Sphere 3D and drop that info as soon as it comes out of any kind of merger. You guys will hear it from me first. And make sure you check out the links below for some free crypto and stocks. And moving on, now we're going to be looking at CleanSpark or CLSK. Now we are working on breaking this resistance here. We got like a resistance of 1130 now, and we are going to test it again. I think we're going to test this resistance, and if not, we're going to come down and retest this support of about $9. Now currently for CleanSpark, I'm kind of holding off on it. I mean, this is already up over 50% from its low. And compared to a lot of stocks out there, there's a lot of stocks out there that haven't performed nearly that great. Okay, and part of this I think is due to CleanSpark finally being profitable, that revenue steadily increasing, which is fantastic. And they have a very strong balance sheet. They have little debt, they have prepaid miners, and they have a decent amount of cash on hand. I mean, last I looked, it was like something like 370 million in cash on hand, and you're looking at a market cap of, roughly 500 million. So that's kind of insane. Now, as for CleanSpark, I have been looking at Sphere 3D a little more closely and in terms of buying. I do have 2 positions in CleanSpark. I have more of a long-term position, which for that one, I'd be okay with averaging in at this price. But I do have a short-term swinging position, and I'm holding off on that one. Okay, and if this does break this level, I will be watching it to start trimming some profits in the $12 area. But currently, I don't think it's worth trimming profits. I don't think it's, for that short-term account, I don't think it's worth adding. But for my long-term account, looking multiple years out, oh yeah, I mean, this CleanSpark under 15 I think is a great deal. And I will continue to say that. I definitely think that that's a great deal. But we are in this channel, and keep an eye on it. We might come down closer to 9, retest that area. But that's it for CleanSpark. It's my favorite miner. I have a huge position, so I have been more leaning towards Sphere 3D, especially with how beaten down it is and that potential of the merger still. Alright, now next up is Nndm or Nndm, and someone did mention this one to me. I haven't talked about it in a while, and I wanted to get into it. I think it's at a great time to buy. Now, looking at the price of sales, this is sky high, although it has been getting better and better. So keep an eye on this, make sure it starts coming down more. They have a very, very solid balance sheet. We're sitting here with 1.3 billion in cash, only 3.6 roughly million in debt, and you're talking about a market cap of under 900 million. Yeah, I mean, this is a cash burning company, so that's one thing to think about. But still, I mean, they have more money on their balance sheet, and they have little debt, so you got to kind of weigh the two in, obviously. It doesn't look good if you have a bunch of cash on your balance sheet, but you have a ton of debt. But this isn't the case. They have very, very little debt, and they have a ton of cash on hand, more than market cap. More than market cap, but just do be aware that the only negative with all this is that they are unprofitable. So they are going to be burning that cash. And looking at the chart on Nndm, we are running nicely. We hit a base of about 3 before just taking back off. And we are looking very bullish on the candles holding the 8, 13, and 21 day. However, looking at the RSI, we are a little bit overbought. So keep an eye on this. We might trade a little bit lower, come down on Friday potentially. Come down, test some lower levels before moving higher. So just be careful, that RSI is a little bit overbought. MACD looks like it's going to be ready to curl soon, but we are on a very nice run. So keep an eye on this. Maybe we come down a little bit before pushing higher, and then that's when you can ride that momentum, swing trade it, set a stop loss, let it run. That's definitely one way to play this. If you're long term, I would continue to average in as long as it's under $5. Okay, well, so it gives you time to build out a position. You don't have to feel like you're in a big rush, and If this does trend up a little bit higher, I still think it's a great time to average in. They are in a very, very early industry. You know, 3D printing is still very, very early. And because of the huge run up in 2021, I was there with this one, you know, this ran up. We saw, what was it, like $15 or so, high teens, mid teens. And that allowed them to issue shares at a higher share price. So they were able to dilute and get as much capital as possible with as little dilution as possible because that stock price ran up so much. So this company now, where it stands in the $3 range, is a better company, a better financial fundamental company than when this was trading in the teens. You know, but it's funny because you'll have some retail that's just like, oh, what's up with this? I thought it was a good stock. And like, yeah, it's a better stock now at this price than it was in the teens. You know, and that's one thing you have to look at it from a fundamental standpoint. You have to look at it from how much cash do they have, you know, how's the company actually being ran? What's going on with this company? You know, yes, it is still negative earnings. It's still not profitable. But there's a quote out there that says, stock isn't the company and the company isn't the stock. And this can't be any truer with a lot of these growth stocks. You know, you've got some that are just so beaten down and you have huge opportunity in front of them. You know, companies like CleanSpark, Indie, you know, ChargePoint. These are so beaten down. Maybe not, you could argue ChargePoint isn't as beaten down anymore. But, you know, it's crazy to think that just this kind of disconnect where you have things going extremely, extremely overvalued, and then you have things going extremely, extremely undervalued. So there's definitely a lot of money to be made in, you know, in this type of market. When things are just max fear and everyone's selling, if people are running away, you should be running to it. But that's basically it. Just a quick recap on a few stocks, a couple I haven't talked about in a while, and a couple I haven't talked about yet. If you guys like this content, make sure you like and subscribe. I put out daily videos, and until next time, guys, take it easy.